talk about it, Boulder.
We don't have to do anything. We're going to outwork them. We're going to out-recruit them. We're going to out-scout them.
The Buffs are definitely in the acquisition mode right now, as we've got some pretty good stories to talk about. You have the Buffs picking up a commitment from an offensive tackle out of the ACC. Insiders are saying, well, one of the main insiders, Steve Wiltfong, is saying that the Buffs have a good chance of landing a commitment tomorrow. We'll definitely be prepared for that if it goes down. And an announcement was made on the game time for the Georgia Tech game, first game of the season. So let's dive into all of that here on the prime time for college football. First and foremost, let's take a gander at the commitment that just came through. Andre Royer Jr., the offensive tackle from Maryland, has committed to Colorado. Yes, the Buffs picked themselves up a nice size lineman. He will have 2 years left of eligibility, 6'6", rated at about 295, roughly 300 pounds. And I like this pickup for Colorado because it adds to a room. It's a big refresh of the offensive line. And I guess the big question we have to ask ourselves is Colorado's refresh of the offensive line, will that help to improve the blocking for next season for these other quarterbacks? Now, we all know that Prime had mentioned when he got to Colorado that he was going to change some things up. And the main reason is that the entire goal there is to win games. And one of the things and one of the ways you win is by having a better set of trenches. So for Colorado, getting new players in is important. And sure enough, you add yourself, adding Andre Royer to this roster should give the Buffs an opportunity to do something big next year. So overall, the Buffs lost 9 offensive linemen in the portal and outgoing, and they brought in 7. And so when you look at the 7 here, you've got on the interior side, you've got Xavier Hill, Zarian McGill, Xylon Chrysler, and Mana Tamani. And then you add in your tackles here, Larry Johnson III, Andre, and Aki. For the Buffs, having those players are critical because you got to have good blocking. Good blocking is probably the most important thing here in the game, as we all know that. And you've got some projects and you've got some guys with experience. So with Andre coming in, he brings over 400 snaps, 17 career games he's played, over 400 snaps, and he's only given up 1 sack in his career, which is something to applaud. Bringing in a guy with that type of experience, 2 years left, and hasn't given up much. He adds some much needed depth, and more so than anything, some competitive depth. So now you got guys that can actually battle, and we can see who's actually going to take over the room, who's going to take the reins of wanting to start. And so that's kind of a key thing for the Buffs going forward is you got to get them trenches going. And I think that they have built themselves a trenches that will be very competitive in not only the Big 12, but just in college football. I mean, when you go look on the defensive side as well, bring in some really good ones in with Jaheim Otis and Lightfoot and Tavian Coleman, adding them, with the current room of edges. The Buffs are building something, hopefully that's sustainable long term. Let me know what y'all think. Hop in the comments. How do y'all feel about the offensive line? Like, what are your thoughts on it? It's going to be mainly transfers, especially after, unfortunately losing Cash Cleveland, which I thought that was a massive loss. But bringing in more players, hopefully some continuity can be built, and boom, you can see something going forward. Next up, let's talk about the schedule. As all y'all know, we all love, we can't wait for the season to get here. It's taking forever. Please get here. Well, the Buffs will open up at 6 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN. Once again, Coach Prime will be on the telly, on the national stage, as the Buffs will be hosting Georgia Tech. I actually plan on being in town for that game, so hopefully I'll run into some of y'all while I'm walking around, being excited about it. But yeah, man, that's going to be a huge game for Colorado. It's going to be a great way to start off the season. As we know, between Juju Lewis and Caden Salter, we'll find out soon who will be the one leading the way. I expect that to be decided right in fall camp. They're going to be battling it out, and that's going to be, that game is going to be the good a good, I guess you could say the game that sets the tone for the season. That's the words I look for. It's going to set the tone for the season. And you know that the Buffs plan on making sure that they are setting the tone to win in the Big 12. Talk to me about that. Let me know what y'all think. Who's going to be there at the game? Definitely want to hear from each of you all. Lastly up, Steve Wiltfong over at On3, the resident expert in recruiting, dropped a RPM favor, or I guess you could say one of his predictions on On3 for the Buffs to land the tight end they've been going after, Gavin Muller. Now, Gavin, he is a consensus 3-star, top 150 player in the country, but he's 6'6", 250, runs a 4.5 40, and he's got a ridiculous 36-inch vertical leap. Ain't that what y'all want? A big tight end that can play like that? Yeah, he gives you all of that. And yeah, he does his commitment tomorrow. So to me, I kind of expect the Buffs to win out on this one. We'll definitely have a video if it goes down, but out of South Elgin, Illinois, he's one player that the Buffs, I know, have been highly coveted over the last few weeks. He came through and did some visits, loved his stay, feels like Colorado is doing exactly what he would like to be a part of, and all we got to do now is close the deal. So let me know what y'all think. Definitely want to hear from you all on that. Now the Buffs are busting their butt in all of this. Like I said, getting recruits in town. They're talking up. You're hearing great things about Buffs in the NFL. I mean, Shedeur is definitely making headlines, as someone was saying that he was the best quarterback throwing the ball at minicamp. We'll dive into some of the notes from everybody around the NFL on Shedeur, as well as Travis. We'll talk about that in the next video. So make sure you hit the like, subscribe button, and the bell notification so you don't miss any of our drops. And yeah, we'll chop it up with y'all soon.